and the Muntjac deer. Henry was thinking big thoughts and having emotions like water bubbles that rushed quickly upwards and then popped. It was all because of the Muntjac deer. The day before, Henry had been shuffling busily along on his way to the mossy glade. He was going to be late. So when Muntjac stopped him and asked for his help, he said, "I'm so sorry, but I'm meeting my sister and I'm late already." Muntjac replied, "That's no problem, dear Henry. Your sister asked me to let you know that she's been delayed, and she'll see you later." Henry was relieved and stayed to help the Muntjac, who was trying to collect as many berries as he could for a delicious supper, and wanted Henry to push out the ones he couldn't reach from under the brambles. It took all afternoon, and when, finally, Henry turned the corner for home, he was very confused to find his sister red-faced and angry. "I've been waiting for you all day, Henry. Just where have you been?" It wasn't the first time Muntjac had told a lie. The whole forest knew he was full of porcupines. But somehow, when you listened to Muntjac, you forgot. He had a way about him. It was as though his words were covered in honey and were too sweet not to swallow. Henry was caught out again and again. It was only the week before, when Henry was rushing to enjoy his share of the last of the fallen crab-apples, that Muntjac had said to him, "I'm afraid, Henry, Badger has just finished the lot. I'm really cross." Henry was very irritated and turned back, saying very rude things about Badger as he went. "How greedy that Badger is! Doesn't she think of anyone else in the world? She will just become a roly-poly ball of crab-apple chubbiness." In fact, he was so caught up in his private badger-bashing thoughts that he was most surprised to find himself tangled up in the black and white fur of none other than Badger, into whom he had accidentally bumped, who was making her way to share the last of the fallen crab-apples. Oh! Realizing he'd been tricked again, and having apologized sincerely to Badger, they rushed together back to the crab-apple orchard. It was too late. Muntjac was just finishing the very last juicy fruit, licking his lips at the delicious flavour, and feeling rather too full as he'd eaten so many. That night Henry dreamt the strangest dream. Honey was pouring from Muntjac's mouth. At first the animals were busily enjoying the sweetness, licking frantically to capture as much as possible. Then they began to get stuck in it, as it slowly spread out, covering the whole forest. Henry woke up, all in a bother, and promised himself that he would never eat honey again. As the morning's sun warmed his twitchy nose, he realized honey wasn't the problem. And strangely, Muntjac wasn't the problem either. Henry needed to be more careful. It was his nature to trust people and take their words at face value. And some people you could trust with your life. Other people, he realized, like Muntjac, you had to treat differently. In fact, Muntjac was so full of porky pies, partly because Henry always believed him. Henry fell right into his trap, and every time he was tricked, it just gave Muntjac more encouragement to lie again. A few weeks passed by, as smoothly as swallows gliding the skies, and the day came for the frog-croak battle. Weeks of practice were devoted to this amazing night, when the frogs competed against one another in a range of competitions. The loudest croak, the loveliest croak, the softest croak, and the most interesting croak. At the end of the night, there was the croak cacophony, when every frog croaked their loudest, all together. Croak, 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 croak. It was an unforgettable experience, an amazing roar of sound that stilled the blood and widened the eyes of every listening creature. As Henry made his way to the lily-pad pond, he came across Muntjac, who said, "Henry, I need your help. I've been asked to present the prizes tonight at the Frog's Croak Battle. Oh, it's an immense honour. I was chosen because of my impressive bark, and I've been looking forward to it for weeks. But my wife is away, and I have to look after our little kid, recently born. Oh, could you please babysit for me tonight?" Henry's first thought was, "Of course I will." But then he remembered his dream and his decision to be more careful, and instead he said, "I'm sorry, Muntjac. I can't believe anything that drips from your mouth, even if it seems like honey. You have lied to me so many times. You are so full of porky pies, I can't trust a word you say. So no, I can't babysit for you, and I'm off to the Frog's Croak Battle." When Henry arrived, the strangest thing happened. 2 lines of frogs were waiting for him, and once they spotted him, they began to croak so loudly, so impressively, it made Henry feel as though he were a king. The largest frog was waiting at the front, who declared solemnly, "Henry, we are so glad you are here. We asked Muntjac to give you the message, that we had chosen you to have the great honour of presenting our prizes tonight." It was a night of sheer exhilarating excitement. Oh, the noise, the energy, the thrill and passion involved. It made the forest burst alive, as though lions were roaring, or the sky was thundering, or the wind was raging, and throughout the evening Henry had pride of place as the one awarding the prizes. It turned out that Muntjac didn't have a kid that needed babysitting. It was another of his porky pies to take Henry's place as the prize giver. He watched from the shadows, and a thought began to drip into his mind like a trickle of honey. Henry hadn't believed him because he lied all the time. Perhaps life would be much sweeter if he began to tell the truth.